It is certainly a Monday morning here after a weekend filled with a little bit of rain and also a lot of great racing around America. Hello, everybody. I am Bob Dillner, and I'm solo here today. Well, solo on the desk. We do have a lot of great people on staff here today. Madison Mabry will be joining us for the first time. Mark Keeler, Tom Ryan in the house. We'll have a bunch of people on the PFC Performance Hotline as well, including our editor, Brandon Paul, and a lot of good guests as well. Some winners from this past weekend, and we'll also talk about some of the upcoming races in short track racing across America. The big rattler this weekend at South Alabama Speedway. We are looking forward to that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at that beautiful facility down there that John Dykes and his staff has. It kicks off the Southern Super Series presented by Sunoco's schedule this year. But I'm solo here on the desk because we had a little scheduling snafu. Casey LaJoie took a week off. What is that about? He's not allowed to do that. He's LaJoie. He's up and coming. Okay, he's not allowed to take time off. There's no time off in TV. Come on, Casey. Anyway, we were going to have Mamba on here. He's on a cruise. Brandon Ernest has clients today. Zach Evans is moving to this part of the country here today, or just down the road a couple of hours. Kendra is up in Canada. So we had nobody to come on and kind of have fun with me this morning, but that's okay. We still have Mark Keeler in the house. Thankfully, we have him. We have a camera on him as well. So, Mark, good sort of Monday morning to you.
Absolutely. I'm ready to get back to a racetrack. I think I've had more rainouts this year than in last year all combined already. I feel like it's been like a month and a half since I've been to a racetrack.
So did you do like I did or my brother Matthew did when we were kids? You know, like when we were stuck in the house, you were stuck in this shop, in this studio all weekend long because of rainouts. You didn't go to a racetrack.
Nope.
Did you like race around the office like we used to and like pretend like, you know, you have time trials and stuff?
Well, I mean, there's a reason we have all the die cast and everything on the set here, you know, right there. And we got some above you in the background also. But, yeah, I got to put all Luke's toys back, though, when I'm done. That's the bad thing is cleaning all those up. But, oh, yeah, every kid has had a cardboard racetrack. I certainly had my share.
So you were supposed to go to the Carolina Clash opener there at Carolina Speedway. That was postponed early.
Yep.
And then you were supposed to go to the SMRS opener on Sunday at Caraway Speedway, and that, too, has been postponed to this Sunday.
And I was so excited because Carolina's a new track for me, so I was going to get number 97 under my belt, and that didn't happen. And then, you know, when I heard that Blewett was coming down to run at Caraway along with the Myers and the whole host of characters they normally get there, I was all excited for that. So it seems like the more excited I get for a race, the greater the chance of a rainout. So I just think I'm not going to look forward to any more. I'm just going to show up when they happen.
Hello, Tommy boy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yep, there you go. I saw you in the background. Just want to say hi. I think I came in this morning. I'm still kind of sleeping, honestly. Drove back from Pensacola, Florida. The first time the ARCA Menard Series was at Five Flags Speedway in 23 years. And it was a really cool show. A great crowd on hand. The race was good. It wasn't great, okay, but it was good, and it was filled with just a lot of talent from the youth in America around the grassroots level, and that was pretty impressive, Mark.
And I think there were a lot of storylines there, though. Well, you know, a lot of times at the end of a race, I think you're talking about the winner, and of course, Michael Self winning there was big, but a guy like Connor O'Kresick, I kept watching the scoring ticker, and to see that he was in the top 10 and he was having a decent run, and then the storylines that played out, and you and Jim did a great job of covering them, and like Ty Gibbs at the end, and I'm trying to remember who started on the pole and then dropped back. So
Chandler Smith.
There was a lot going on there in that race, and I mean, TV can only do so much because I mean you're limited. But I think you guys did a great job of covering all those storylines and giving everybody their due. But it was really interesting to see those cars because we've become spoiled with pro late models and super late models there over the years. So to see, you know, a heavy ARCA car there was quite interesting, and it looked like it threw a lot of people for a loop, especially, you know, like Chandler Smith at the beginning. He goes out there and runs hard and then wears the stuff out, and it was really I think it was fun to watch from that standpoint as a fan to see whose strategy was going to play the best, because it's so cool when a series goes to a brand new racetrack because nobody knows what to expect.
We had a lot of racing still this past weekend, and today's show brought to you by MPM Marketing. They service a lot of the youthful drivers in America in terms of their marketing approach and media approach. Get a lap ahead of the competition. Go to marketingwithmpm.com and check out all the information about their services. They certainly do a great job with all of their clients, and there have been many throughout the last about decade or so from Tanya McAllister and her group right there. So Dylan Zampa, actually, we'll be talking about him because he had a big win at Madera this past weekend, and we're going to try to get him actually on the morning Bullring today here this morning until maybe we'll attempt that because he's out in the West Coast. We'll attempt that until we get off the air. But MPM Marketing, check them out at marketingwithmpm.com. We talk about the rain, but we could talk about a lot about the racing as well. USAC in action. Fortunately for them, they were indoors.
that always helps.
That was a key right there for sure. They were indoors. We'll talk about that. Of course, a guy by the name of Cannon. What a racing name. Cannon McIntosh won that event for the USAC National Midget Series at DuQuoin. That was cool. The Cars Tour doubleheader. We'll have all sorts of information from that, including we're going to talk to Brandon Pierce, who was the winner of the Cars Tour late model stock car portion, and he had a little controversy there. Hey, Tommy. Tommy, what'd you think about old Brandon Pierce and what he did to Josh Berry the other day? You have your own microphone, by the way.
This one? All right, this one? Okay. It was very surprising to see him basically boonswoggle.
Boomswoggle.
Yeah,
That's a new one.
That's
I
a new
like
term.
that.
You can tell he was trying to think of it because he couldn't come up with a word.
Well, I didn't want to say dump, but
I'll tell you, what was interesting was hearing Josh Berry's comments after that. There's a good little recap up on the network right now, so it was interesting to hear his take.
and it was also interesting to see his take because he was very politically correct about it, but he wasn't happy.
Did you have your coffee yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay. So we'll talk to Brandon Pierce a little later on in the show. He's coming up at 8:20 this morning. Bubba Pollard with a big win there. World of Outlaws in action, the Wheelman Series, that big race at Madera to kind of kick off their season, and the indoor show there at Syracuse, as well as the Arca Menards Series. And I never made the mistake. Not once.
You didn't. Jim did.
Yes, he did once.
I heard him, but I was watching your little video there on your ride back yesterday, and I was laughing when you said that because I was like, oh, I wish I saw this earlier because I would have commented that I did hear Jim say it, but only once. I was pretty impressed with that because I still don't know what to call it, so I was impressed that you made it the whole way without messing that up.
$5 in the kitty for my buddy Jim Trado. We got this little jar there in the tower, and every time somebody calls it the wrong name, it's going to be $5 in the kitty. Who knows? Maybe we'll give it away to charity or something, but that show was live on MAV TV on Saturday night, and always a good time at Five Flags Speedway. Great to see Tim Bryant, Pat, the entire staff down there, Steve Stokes, and everyone, Ed Brown, as well as Bob Sargent and Adam Mackey down there, co-promoters of that event. I'm looking forward to the 2020 edition, hard to say 2020, but yes, the 2020 edition of the Arca Menards Series returning to Five Flags Speedway. The entire TV staff did a great job down there. But we're going to go to the PFC Performance Hotline right now and bring in the editor of Speed51.com. And Brandon Paul, you kind of, stirred things up a little bit. I was reading Speed 51 last week, and you had a column about NASCAR drivers and what they do or not do for short track racing. According to your column, you think they could do more.
Yeah, I think they could do more, and I think in basically what that column, it started with this show 1 week ago when we it was kind of an impromptu discussion, which led to a poll on Twitter in which 84% of people basically agreed with what I had to say as far as that NASCAR drivers could do more to help the grassroots short track racing. But basically with that column, the point I was getting across is that these drivers, your Jimmy Johnsons, your Denny Hamlins, and those guys, they have the ability with their reach to really have an impact on the future of the sport and also on grassroots racing at that level. And I know I've seen some comments and whatnot from people saying, well, you can't compare that because you don't see Tom Brady playing an arena football game or stuff like that. But when it boils down to it, these drivers are ambassadors for the sport of racing. And the same goes for the NFL. The same goes for the NBA. A guy like LeBron James is an ambassador for the NBA, whether you love him or hate him. And what he does to help the next level is they do youth camps and stuff like that to connect with people that are going to be future stars in the sport. So obviously it's not the same. You can't compare them on a one-to-one basis, but you do have those people. Same with the NHL, same with the MLB. They do have a way, the stars of the sport, to connect with the future of the sport. So I think that's an important thing to clear up as well.
You know, I think the other point is you do see a LeBron James. You do see some of the athletes go to the games in college and high school and so forth and support the echelons of racing that feed the upper part. So I think that's very key as well. How many times do we see, Deshaun Watson, maybe if his NFL schedule does not conflict, he's back going to a Clemson game, or Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, LeBron James, all those actually talk about on Twitter where they came from. Obviously, LeBron didn't go to college, but Tom Brady always talks about Michigan. Deshaun always talks about Clemson, and therefore they are promoting where they came from and helping grow that side of things. And the same could be said, honestly, for a Jimmy Johnson, for a Joey Logano, for a Brad Keselowski, for a Martin Truex Jr. Let's help short track racing and promote. And I think that's honestly some of what I read into your column, what you were trying to, bring out, not necessarily accomplish, but bring out that you would like to see them do more of.
Oh, exactly. And I think you bring up a great point when it comes to the NFL players and NBA players with their former college. Well, I mean, we have March Madness coming up for college basketball, and you're going to see NBA locker rooms. I mean, I remember when I was covering the Celtics, the Boston Celtics, there were times during March Madness when these guys would talk about Duke or North Carolina or whatever it may be. They support their school and they support a level of their sport in which they played. So I think that's important to note. And another important thing I think to note is that this isn't the only thing that's wrong with short track racing. There's the fact that NASCAR stars aren't supporting it. I mean, that's not an instant fix to fix the sport. So I think that's important to note. The other thing, and I don't know if a lot of people got this in my column, and I tried to really stress it at the end of the column, was the fact that it doesn't just mean that these drivers have to show up and race. There's so much they can do that takes very minimal time that could have a huge impact on a local short track. And in some of the examples I used was the fact that if a driver is at New Hampshire Motor Speedway competing in the NASCAR Cup Series event at that track, it would take maybe 1 or 2 hours to go down to Lee USA Speedway or go to Star Speedway or go to one of the local short tracks in that area and just sign a few autographs. I mean, they usually do it at a bar or something for a sponsor anyways. So why not do that? I feel like that could have a huge impact. It doesn't require them to get behind the wheel. It takes minimal time, and it could have a huge impact.
Well, there's a lot of good things happening in short track racing, as well as some debates and over some issues and so forth. So I like the way that short track racing is going right now with the decline of big track racing. A lot of talk about hashtag more short tracks, and that's what we live by here at Speed 51. That's our mantra, hashtag more short tracks. If you want to talk to us, certainly use that hashtag, use our Twitter handles and so forth. Ask us any questions. For some of the guests we have coming up. Our first guest will be Justin Bonsignor, last year's NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, will be coming up. If you got any questions for him, certainly send them in right now on social media. If you have any questions for myself, for Mark, no matter what it is, certainly use our social media realms on Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram. Yes, Instagram too. We got a pretty popular Instagram. It's pretty cool. It's growing by leaps and bounds over the last year. But speaking of short tracks, one of the interesting things I thought from this past weekend was a little bit of a debate. You can call me a you-know-what stirrer a little bit. I got on Twitter this weekend, and a buddy of mine from Fox Sports tweeted about ISM Phoenix. Okay, it's Phoenix, baby. ISM Raceway being a short track. And I was like, what? It's not a short track, okay? It's a mile in length. Come on. So I actually tweeted that, and Dale Jr. picked up on it. And, of course, when Dale Jr. picks up on it, it just keeps on growing by leaps and bounds, and we ran with it. And there was a lot of discussion. Alex Bowman got involved. I saw Robbie Harvey involved. There were a bunch of people from all different facets and walks of racing talk about what is a short track. And NASCAR always defines short tracks of, I believe it's a track a mile in length or less. Okay, and then you got the intermediate tracks, and then you got this, speedways and the super speedways and all that sort of thing. And I've always honestly disagreed with the assessment by NASCAR for what makes up the clarifications of the racetracks. And Dale Jr., this weekend, he was my hero, okay? He came on Twitter and he clarified the short tracks. And I couldn't agree more with a single person than his clarification of short tracks. And he said 5/8 of a mile or shorter equals a short track. Larger than 5/8 but under 1.5 miles is an intermediate track. There fits ISM Raceway, Gateway, and so forth. 1.5 but under 2.5 miles is a speedway. And then Daytona and Talladega are super speedways. If you disagree with that, you're out to lunch. Bottom line, go get yourself a stiff drink or something because you don't know what you're talking about. Because as a pure short track fan, when you're growing up, and Brandon, I want to get your opinion on this, those are the assessments that you make as a short track fan. I grew up on a 1/5 of a mile oval, Islip Speedway. I used to go up to a 5/8 of a mile, Thompson Speedway in New England. But when we went once a year to the big track at Pocono Raceway for the Race of Champions, that was the big track, baby. We were going to the big track for the Race of Champions, and it was fantastic. I agree with Matt Weaver. Iowa Speedway is not a short track. It's 7/8 of a mile. It's high banked. It runs like a speedway. Got to cut this stuff out because the clarification of how it is deemed in NASCAR does not match up with how you grow up in the world of short track racing. Do you agree or disagree, Brandon?
I definitely 100% agree. In just using it up here in the Northeast as an example, if you go to a Star Speedway is my definition of a short track. Quarter mile, Bullring, you're going to see side-by-side racing pretty much regardless of what type of race car you throw out there. Sometimes the super modifieds can get a little bit strung out, but outside of that, pretty much any race car you throw on that racetrack, you're going to get great side-by-side racing. And then obviously up here you have like a Thompson Speedway at 5/8 of a mile, and I think that's still a short track. You can see some great side-by-side, some fender banging, especially with the Sunoco Modifieds, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, some great racing there. But then up here you have New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and yes, there are short track events held at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, the Pro All-Stars Series this year, even street stocks and four-cylinder mini stocks with the Northeast Mini Stock Tour. But New Hampshire Motor Speedway is not a short track. I mean, you can tell that alone when you go there and watch a Cup Series race, and the field is just kind of sprung out all around. It's not a short track. The racing that you see at that track does not really mimic what you would want when you go to a short track.
Some comments coming in on social media as well. Jim Kaufman chiming in saying, I wouldn't even call Richmond a short track anymore. The old Richmond was, but the new Richmond, it's not a short track. And Jim, I agree with you on your assessment, but at the same time, and I'm not kissing Dale Jr.'s butt here, but I agree with what he said. And he said Richmond is kind of grandfathered in because of what it once was, the old Richmond Fairgrounds racetrack. And because of that, it's grandfathered in. I will still call Richmond a short track just because of that. It was born a short track, and it became a super speedway short track. Okay, maybe another clarification there. but Richmond is still right there. And Brandon, before we let you go, I want to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming events that we have. The interesting twist on the Fairgrounds Speedway in Nashville coming up mid-April, the All-American 400, and I teased Claire Formosa about this last week. I said, so how's the All-American 300 coming? And she laughed, it's something that you just can't call it the All-American 400 because it's 300 laps for the super late models at Fairgrounds Speedway Nashville. How is that shaping up?
Well, I mean, we still call it the All-American 400 when it was 200 laps divided between the two divisions. So I think you just have to call it that because that's like the name of the race, even though
All-American
it's not 400 laps. But other than that, the entry list was released last week, and this is for the April event. I do want to clarify because obviously last year's event rained out. This April's All-American 400, which is now 300 laps, that will take place in April, and that will feature Bubba Pollard, Harrison Burton, Garrett Thorne, Preston Peltier, Kyle Busch, Stephen Massey. You can get the full entry list on Speed 51. We did a story last week on the current entry list, but it's shaping up to be interesting. I mean, it's always interesting when you have an event of that nature, when you mix it up, kind of just going back to like the Alabama 200, when Stan Narrison made the call to move that event up in the calendar this year, that paid huge dividends, and you saw some guys at that event that might not otherwise be there. And I know in particular, at least one driver, Kyle Busch, would not have been able to go to the November race because of his NASCAR obligations, but he can go in April. So definitely an interesting twist with there being two races this year. But I think the April date will really open up some possibilities, and you might see something different.
Can we compromise, Brandon? Can we compromise and just call it the All-American? Okay? Can we agree to agree there? I think that's what it needs to be.
I think that's probably a safe thing to do, but I mean, unfortunately, it's not like they just wanted to do this. It was poor circumstances with Mother Nature last year that kind of led them to this decision, and I completely understand why they did it. And Claire Formosa told me, I mean, having those drivers just alone with the All-American 400 races, that's 800 laps on your race car. Add in the North-South Super Late Model Challenge also there with the ARCA CRA Super Series and the Southern Super Series, and that's a lot of laps just at that one racetrack to expect to put racers through in 1 year. So I understand the decision. I mean, I understand also why, I mean, what you're saying, All-American 400 being the 300, all that stuff. But either way, I think it should be a good race, some good stars, and definitely looking forward to it.
And if you look at the Snowball Derby, just for my point, I saw the finishing order for the Snowball Derby in the offices at Five Flags Speedway this past weekend. We all know the Snowball Derby as a 300-lap race. The inaugural one was 100 laps. That's pretty interesting. So, see, Snowball Derby, just call it the All-American this year. Anyway, it's going to be a great race. Pro Late models all year long at the Fairgrounds Speedway Nashville, and the car counts there have stepped up over the course of the last several years. So, a lot of great racing there in Nashville this year, but there'll be some great racing at the Rattler as well this weekend at South Alabama Speedway. How is the entry list looking for that show down there? The Super Late models and Pro Late models going to do battle this weekend on Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, that one's looking impressive as well. I mean, a lot of your super late model stars, Bubba Pollard, defending race winner Harrison Burton, Ty Majeski, who had won the previous two Rattlers. He's coming back after missing it last year. Casey Roderick. Of course, you'll have Donnie Wilson in a lot of those Southern Super Series stars, with it being the Southern Super Series opener. So that's another big one we're looking forward to this weekend.
Brandon Paul, we appreciate you coming on the Morning Bullring, kind of setting the tone. That's what we love about you. You set the tone for the remainder of the show.
Hey, I try. Have a good show, guys.
We try hard. That's the motto on my dad's racing flag, the mantra that he lived by for so many years on figure eight racing. Yes, you wonder why I am so nuts. I think my dad got hit in the X one too many times in figure eight racing, and that's how I wound up the way I am. We're going to take a quick break. We got news with Madison Mabry on the other side of the break, plus our first guest, and it's going to be a good one, Justin Bonsignor. Yes, the Long Island gang in force here on the Morning Bullring.
Otter Off-Road. Their experts can keep you on the track and in the lead no matter what type of racing you do. Hundreds of brands, thousands of parts. Find them online at racecareng.com or call them toll free at 800-882-7231 and make sure to ask for your free catalog. That's Racecar Engineering, 800-882-7231.
Hey race fans, download the new Speed51.com app today. Breaking news, feature stories, the Unfiltered podcast, live race coverage, schedules, and more right at your fingertips. Download it today on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Race fans, it's almost time for the biggest super late model race this side of the Snowball Derby. It's the 43rd annual Hardee's Rattler Weekend, headlined by the Hardee's Rattler 250. It all happens March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Opp, Alabama. Defending race winner and rising NASCAR star Harrison Burton will be back to defend his title against some of the best super late model racers in America. March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Opp, Alabama. Be there!
I love old school stuff, and there's some old school stuff right there. Rockford Speedway, the old NASCAR Winston Racing Series hat, as well as Five Flags Speedway. Yes, Five Flags Speedway was part of the NASCAR brigade back in the day, and we cannot wait to talk Derby again. I could tell you that. We were talking about that yesterday, actually, as I was packing up from Five Flags Speedway. Now we are starting to prepare not only for the Blizzard Series opener, which will be March 29th at Five Flags Speedway, but that all leads up to the big show, the Snowball Derby on the first weekend in December. Before we get to all that, it's time for the news. Plenty of racing to talk about, despite what Mother Nature did to us this past weekend. Madison, what was that about?
I don't know. There were a lot of rainouts, a lot of different places. Caraway got rained out. Carolina Clash at Carolina Speedway got rained out. But luckily, we did have some indoor racing that got to see some action. Like we said earlier, USAC was down at DuQuoin for the Shamrock Classic. And like we said, the surprise winner of Cannon McIntosh was down there and swept the victory away from the defending champion and defending winner, Logan Seavey.
Hey, who is Cannon McIntosh? Do you know anything about him? Other than the fact that he's got a cool name, I really do not know a lot about this kid.
He kind of came out of the woodworks there. He's from Oklahoma and had a pretty good showing at Chili Bowl and has obviously showed to be a contender here at the Shamrock Classic. And
he had a great battle. I actually watched some of the highlights on Flow Sports with Logan Seavey, the defending national midget champion. He got past. I thought he was done. Bye-bye, Cannon. I thought it was going to be a dud. And then all of a sudden he exploded. You like that? The Cannon exploded. And he came back to get by Logan Seavey again and took the victory. That was impressive.
That was. And, on the other side, with good luck comes bad luck. Did you see Carson Elledge's wild flip out there? tough luck for her at the Shamrock Classic.
I was just glad she was okay. Carson, I'm really proud of her, honestly, because she is really making an effort. She's always loved racing, but I like what she does. I like the fact that she's got some spunk behind her, and she's going to learn a lot on that USAC schedule this year.
Definitely. Moving on to another indoor race. Syracuse actually raced this weekend. Justin Bonsignor won on Friday over Eric Rudolph, but didn't have the luck that he wanted on Saturday with Eric winning the finale there.
The fire starter, Eric Rudolph. A great showing by him. He'll be coming on the morning Bullring a little later on. 8:50 is when he is scheduled for the morning Bullring, which means probably about 9 o'clock or so with our time. Just saying.
He'll be a good guest to have on there, and I'm sure he has a lot of insight from this weekend. Tom, Casey, and I actually got to see some racing this weekend at Southern National. Like we said, we have Brandon Pierce coming on the show. He was a surprise winner that kind of did the famous bump and run to knock Josh Berry on the last lap to catch the win there.
Hey, no love for Zach? I know he's not here
there
today, but you left out Zach Evans, our boy there.
He is the Southern National King. Zach, we appreciate everything you do. I did not mean to leave you out whatsoever.
And Bubba. How about Bubba? That was, wherever Bubba goes, you know that he's going to be a threat for the victory.
Absolutely. And, you kind of expect him to come and run away with it, but Preston Peltier and Mason Diaz both gave him a run for the money, so the $10,000 was not easily pocketed by him. Okay, so let's go to the West Coast. World of Outlaws was down at Thunder Bowl Raceway, where the Aussie Ian Madsen absolutely dominated the entire weekend. Fastest in hot laps, won his heat race, drew the pole for the dash, and then led every single lap of the feature. So I wonder if there's a prize for doing all of that. You lead absolutely everything the entire weekend.
There needs to be some sponsorship for that for sure. And how excited were you when I said, don't forget World of Outlaws in the news this morning?
We all know I'm a sprint car junkie, so I was super excited to be able to talk about that.
Oh, they're always putting on a good show, and they got plenty of races, so catch them sometime at a track near you around America.
Absolutely. Still on the West Coast, Madeira Speedway, we had a new winner. Dylan Zampa actually beat his brother Logan Zampa to pick up his first pro late model win in his pro late model start. That's a really cool story right there.
It was, and I think we're going to see more and more out of the young guns around America, especially with some of the junior late model programs starting as well. I'm very interested to see how the Champion Racing Association and how their junior late model program actually goes this year. A lot of cool rulings in order to keep that kind of a lower buck cost of racing as well with the Champion Racing Association in the Midwest.
Definitely. I think that is a great program out there on the West Coast and moving on forward for everybody that's trying to get into racing with the junior racing programs. Let's go to Florida. We had a lot of action in Florida. ARCA Menard Series had their first time in many years at Five Flag Speedway. Michael Sell found victory lane after not having the best start to the season, which was pretty impressive, and hopefully he's on the up and up for the rest of the season. Yeah,
31st place finish at Daytona after he made contact with Willie Mullins, and that really kind of got him behind the 8 ball in terms of the championship. But the guy that does not profess himself as a short track ace certainly showed that he was pretty darn good on the short track. First time ever he has ever been on there to race Five Flag Speedway, and he wins. Not too shabby for the Dino Boys from Sinclair.
Not bad at all. And somebody else that also impressed me down there was Ty Gibbs. He's new in the ARCA series, kind of getting more in K&N also, but he ended up with a second place finish, which I thought was pretty impressive for the youngster.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, Ty is a good kid, very personable, and he's not egotistical or anything. But you could tell he doesn't have a care in the world. I mean, we were doing interviews the other day. He's on his phone playing video games. Like, shh, keep the sound effects down. He's like, I'm sorry, But you saw how he progressed during that race, and he learned. He took it in. He made sense of it, and he made it pay off. I think if that race were 250 laps, he would have had something for Michael Self.
I definitely agree with you. Down in 417 Southern Speedway in Florida, excuse me.
It's early.
It is early.
You didn't have coffee either, did you?
I had a Red Bull. I followed Mark's path here.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't help it. Red Bull is my go-to. But Tommy Kelly picked up a win. He was running pretty well. And Patrick Thomas was actually running him down at the end, but ran out of laps. So Tommy Kelly ended up bringing home that win this weekend.
Hey, listen, if you two Red Bull aficionados over there, yes, I'm talking about Madison and Mark, if your hearts explode, Tom's got his favorite shirt on this morning, so please don't get it on him, okay? He's got coffee, finally.
Tom is prepared. But, yeah, there was a lot of awesome short track racing this weekend, and I'm sure there's more to come for the rest of the year. I'm actually heading to Myrtle Beach Speedway this weekend for the Wheeling Modified Tour to see what they have down there.
We might change that.
Uh-oh.
We'll talk after the show. There's rainouts just get in the way of everything, and we'll talk about that after the show for sure. But she was right. She was scheduled to go to Myrtle Beach Speedway and still could, but we might have to negotiate that one just a little bit. But the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour going to be visiting Myrtle Beach Speedway, and one of the guys that will be there to kind of kick off that season and go after another crown is on our PFC Performance Hotline. Justin Bonsignor, Long Island Strong, baby, on the Morning Bullring. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bob. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's good to have you. I love having Long Island in force here on the Morning Bullring. We miss Rob Blount because we would talk modifieds all the time. So at least I have you on the Morning Bullring. How excited are you to get this season kick-started after not being able to go down to Florida this year?
Yeah, we've been ready to go pretty much since Thompson ended. You know, we didn't want 2018 to end, but at the same time, we wanted to clinch that championship, celebrate all our accomplishments. But we sure are ready to get down there and see what we got for this year. We watched Florida from Fans' Choice and all the social media stuff on Speed 51, and seeing all your buddies go race every night is tough. But we're ready to go, and we'll see what we can do.
So before we talk about some of the indoor racing this past weekend, I want to talk about you and Doug Kobe had a little social media war last week. What was that about?
It's Twitter wars a little bit. We go back and forth in a joking manner. Priest gets involved. Every now and then Keith Rocco gets involved, Timmy Salmino, and we just like to go back and forth and share some jokes, share some gifts, just picking on each other, get the fans involved, have some fun. He had a little bit of snow last week and made a nice post, and I had to come back, and I think mine shut him up pretty good. So I think he'll be quiet for a little bit, but no, it's just all in good fun. Gets everybody involved and laughing and try and draw attention to racing.
That post on Twitter was pretty interesting. That picture right there that you're talking about, it had the snow out there in Connecticut, and it was like the Ghostbusters symbol with the line through it. Instead of the ghost in the center, it had the 51, and he said his dog was doing business out there. You need rivalries in this sport, don't you? And you two have been going at it the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, his required a little bit of work too. Mine was just a reply. I didn't have to go out in the cold and shovel no snow. But yeah, I mean, I'd say we're building a little bit of a rivalry. We go back and forth, battling for wins all the time. We were finally able to be the team that took his team down as far as their run of champions goes. So they're gunning hard for us. We're gunning hard to stay on top, but at the same time, we BS back and forth and chat all the time about things, and it's a friendly rivalry for sure.
Are you the biggest trash talker in modified racing now? Have you taken over for Jimmy Blewett?
Man, I wouldn't say that, but I can dish out my fair share in a good way. I try not to be too negative, but I can dish it out. I'm from Long Island. It's in our blood to bust chops and give people a hard time.
I mean, it's all about Riverhead Raceway. And when you go to Riverhead Raceway, I mean, you were one of those karting brats for so many years. When I still lived on Long Island, I got to see you and your family and so forth. And if you're on Long Island and you're in the pits at Riverhead Raceway, you have to have some tough skin, don't you?
Yeah, without a doubt. Especially back in the day, growing up at Riverhead, it was a little different than it is now. It's a little more family fan friendly, but you definitely you gotta have thick skin around here, especially racing at a quarter-mile Bullring every week and dealing with some of the people you grew up racing with there. But I think it's just Long Island in general. Anywhere you go, you gotta have thick skin and be able to put up with getting getting your chops busted every now and then.
Well, we're showing actually the tweet sequence from last week between you and Kobe. That was hysterical. We know you guys are going to have a great war down there at Myrtle Beach Speedway this weekend. What do you think about Myrtle Beach? And I'll put it in perspective for me. Myrtle Beach, cool destination, cool racetrack, rough pavement, eats up tires. And I think if people can weather the storm, they'll see a very exciting race. But how difficult of a race is it for you with how much you have to save your stuff and almost go half throttle, it seems like sometimes, to save those tires because of that rough pavement?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly a really good assessment of it. It's a great time to go down there. It's a great racetrack. If they had fresh pavement on it, it would probably be my favorite racetrack, just the way the shape of the track and all the characteristics of it. But it is tough to play that strategy type of race where you're just saving your tires, managing your pit cycles, because you can only change one tire per pit stop. So just trying to balance all the strategy involved in the race is tough. And as a race car driver, you want to go as fast as you possibly can the whole time. But once a year, it is kind of cool to mix it up and get the pit crews involved more than they usually are, and have your crew chief coming up with different strategy for days upon days. So I love doing it. I'm glad we don't do it every week of the year, but it is something cool to start the season with. And it just rounds us all out as teams. You got all these different types of racetracks. So to be the best of the best, you got to succeed at all these different styles of racing, and Myrtle Beach has its own style for sure.
So 20, 30 laps into that event, just to describe to the people that are watching or listening today on the Morning Bullring, how much throttle do you use actually going down the straightaway there to conserve those tires?
I'd say at most you're probably half throttle, not using really any brake, just rolling out of it, letting the car roll through the center of the corner, and then just like an egg is under the throttle, just picking it back up. Once you get to about 50, 60 laps into a run, you're maybe 3/8 throttle, but just managing your tires, wait until as late as possible. We get 4 tires, any position this weekend. So you get an extra right rear most likely to put on at one point in the race. So the last 20 or 30 laps, you're going as hard as you can, but after 10 or 15 laps of running hard, the tires they're gone. So it is a really tough thing to balance. It just depends on when the cautions fall and if you still got tires left in the pit box.
What a year in 2018 for you to get that championship, all those wins. Have you had to pinch yourself a little bit, honestly, Justin, with how things shook out last year?
Yeah, especially after the way 2017 went, we didn't win. We still battled for the championship, but just didn't have a great year. Made a lot of changes. Ryan Stone came on board. We went to LFR chassis, and right out of the gate at Myrtle Beach, we were second fastest in practice, and it just carried through the whole year. Ryan did an unbelievable job with those race cars, and we showed up and unloaded, and we were fast every week. And just because you're fast doesn't mean you're going to win. Our team put ourselves in good position with great pit stops, the right strategy calls during the races, and we were able to, be in position to win races. And then if other people faltered, we were there to capitalize. And, the wins kept piling up, and you're like, okay, we got 4 or 5. Like, this is unbelievable. This is a career year. And then, they kept coming. But at the same time, we didn't take them for granted. We're still not taking it for granted. We could go down there this week and struggle. So as great as 18 was, we celebrated the championship, the first for 99% of my team. It was amazing, but we're on to 2019, and we got to stay focused, and we know everybody's gunning for us now the way we were gunning for Doug. So it's going to be tough to try and stay on top.
So as a competitive race car driver and a fiery one at that, like you are you like, oh man, how the heck do I top that? Or what is the feeling in terms of how much success you had last year and try to either replicate it or, succeed it this year?
Yeah, it's really going to be tough. We won half the races. We could have possibly won 4 more. We finished second twice, and we were leading at New Hampshire both races late in the going. So really the only track we didn't have a shot to win any of the races was the 3 Stafford races. So, it's going to be tough to go out and try and win 8 races again. Realistically, you can't anticipate you're going to do that. We know we can probably go out and win a few, but the main goal is going to be to defend our championship. That's the ultimate goal when everybody races for. So I've said it a few times now. If we have to win one race and the championship, so be it. Whatever it takes to win the championship is what we'll do. But we would love to go out and just keep racking up wins. It makes it a lot easier to points race when you're winning.
Talking to NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion Justin Bonsignor on the morning Bullring this morning on Speed 51. Got a question from social media. John Monroe wants to know, what track gives you the most trouble?
No doubt there it's Stafford. We've run good there over my career. I've got a bunch of poles, led a lot of laps. I've been in contention late to win races there. But overall, it's just not a track that we can go to and ever have a car that's just dominant and just check out. Haven't won there yet. It's been tough. There's a lot to it now, especially at Stafford, where the one tire per stop. So the strategy's always changing. It's not the just go out, have the best car, come in, put your tires on, and go back out. It's a lot more to it. But for some reason, something about Stafford just haven't clicked 100% yet on what I need for a 150 lap race. So we're getting close. I think we were really good at the fall final last year, but we were trying to clinch the championship and kind of played a conservative run that day. So I'm excited to go there for the Sizzler, and maybe one of these days I can check it off the box.
Hey, another question coming in from social media. What is your favorite track to race at that you haven't won at yet? And I don't think you can say Stafford because you just answered that with the last question.
Yeah, definitely not my favorite track, Stafford. We've been fortunate to win a lot of races that are on the schedule right now. I would like to get a win at Myrtle Beach. Like I said, that is a fun racetrack. It looks like a lot of history. Well, not looks like, but there's been a lot of history there over the years with all the old Grand National stuff and just the different series that have raced there in the past. So, it's only been on the schedule for now the third year, but I would like to get a win there. I think a lot would come from that.
All right, indoor racing this past weekend. You were in Syracuse, right? Sorry, I was down in Pensacola. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, up in Syracuse this weekend, where it is cold still, very cold. But they, unfortunately, they lost the mile track there, the dirt race. But they built a brand new exposition center in New York State, and it is state of the art, beautiful place, huge freestanding building where the pits and everything were right in one area. All LED lights. It was a beautiful place. The Salmons family definitely got a new home up in upstate New York for years to come. So it was exciting. We struggled in practice to track. I think with the new concrete and not curing and everything, it was kind of struggling to take rubber with the Coke syrup, and we struggled in practice. Kept throwing the sink at it. We won the pole, which was unbelievable. I didn't even know that. We were like 40th out of 50 cars in practice.
Wow.
And won the pole. Struggled a little bit in our heat, redrew the pole, and just had a really good battle with Eric Rudolph. We went back and forth, and about halfway through the race, the track finally started to take rubber. His car was really good on the slick track, and our car was just unbelievable once the track took rubber. And we got back by him. We swapped the lead, slide jobs, crossovers, back and forth a couple times. I think they said 6 lead changes, and we were able to drive away at the end and win that first inaugural race, which was really cool and really special and something they can never take away from us.
And then on Saturday,
not so good. We redrew third. We were a pretty good car. I don't think, being honest, I'm pretty brutally honest. I don't think I would have beat Eric heads up. He had a really good car Saturday night, and he was probably going to win the race and the championship. But we got cleaned out. We're running third, and guy behind me got into me, and I was in the process of spinning up off the corner, and he just kept driving through me, and then he drove up over me and flipped himself over my car, and we got stuck up in the wall and ended up breaking the rack and some right front assembly. So we fixed it under the red, tried getting back out, but the steering wheel literally would not turn after about 5 laps. So once we got lapped, I just parked it and that was it. And now it's time for Myrtle Beach.
You'll have that in big-time auto racing. Knuckleheads. It just happens sometimes. Bottom line, there's my Long Island coming out right there. Speaking of some trash talking, we're getting some other comments coming in on Twitter. Gene Clark wants to know who you think the biggest trash talker is on the tour.
On the tour? Ooh. Well, in modified racing in general, it's probably Rocco.
Yeah.
He has no filter and takes it sometimes over the top, but in a good way. I'd have to say right now, it's definitely Doug or I. Timmy gets in there every now and then. Goodell's really good, but he doesn't really get on Twitter. He's more of an Instagram, trash talker and right to your face trash talker. But
yes, he
not
is.
a Long Island guy. So I'd say those four are pretty rough, and coincidentally, 3 of them are from Long Island. So I guess that goes left unsaid.
Well, because of this, we actually have started a poll on Twitter. Follow Speed51DOT.com. And the question is, which modified driver has the strongest Twitter game? Justin Bonsignor, Doug Kobe, Keith Rocco, or Ryan Preece. Certainly go to that social media there for Twitter with our Speed 51 account presented by PFC Brakes. And I know you've been on the PFC Brakes. They helped you win the championship. That was pretty cool. Justin, I got to tell you, before I let you go here, I know there's a lot of trash talking, and we go back and forth about, Rob and I being at the ice cream booth there at New Smyrna and all sorts of things. But I got to say, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you other than a text here and there, we're proud of you. From a Long Islander to a Long Islander, proud of you on what you accomplished, winning half the races last year, kicking butt. Okay, and I think that was pretty cool in winning that championship. Congratulations to you, that entire team. From a Long Island perspective, super proud of you.
No, and I appreciate that and everything Speed 51 does for short track racing, especially the modified tour, and especially everything you do for us. We did text back and forth after the championship. Your brother, I got text from both of you, and it means a lot from being a little kid growing up on Long Island and you guys doing the trackside show back in the day. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and everything that you guys have accomplished to have you guys reach out to me and offer your congratulations. It means a lot, and just trying to make Long Island guys proud and keep moving forward. There's a good group of Long Island guys on the tour right now, and we got the Long Island gang going back again, I think, and it's a good time to be in modified racing, and hopefully we can back up our season from last year again this year and, do it all again.
And, at least I know how, and the Long Islanders know how to pronounce your name, right?
Yeah, I actually was getting into it with Shane Andrews this weekend at the indoor. He kept calling me Bon Senior. I said I'm Italian, not Spanish.
He's listening to Ben Dodge.
Took a couple bucks, I think, to persuade him to say it right. But, saying my name is half the battle.
That's right. Well, good luck this weekend at Myrtle Beach Speedway on the kickoff of the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour season.
Thanks, Bob. It's a pleasure to be on, and hopefully we can talk soon.
You got it, buddy. Justin Bonsignor on the morning Bullring. Really going to be interesting to see how things shake out there at Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina this weekend as the tour kicks another season off. And, the interesting thing, I love the modified tour. I don't get to go to a lot of the races. I don't even get to talk a lot about it these days because of all the other things that I'm doing. But I was around when the tour began. It was 1985. Heck, the tour the year before was really kind of there, but not. It was called the NASCAR Circle of Champions. So it was a little bit different format. And then the tour really got initiated in 1985. And I was part of that as a first-year writer for Area Auto Racing News. That dates
and how
myself
old were you?
Bit. I was 14, 15, something like that, back in 1985. So, and Justin referenced the Trackside Show. We used to have a show, Long Island Trackside, and there's a banner, that's right, in our Studio 51 right here for Long Island Trackside. Those times, just a great group of people like we have here at Speed 51 now. Dedicated group and a lot of fun covering Riverhead Raceway as well as the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour. Back in the day, it was the NASCAR Featherlight Modified Tour back then.
I was going to say, I used to actually think that was a type of car, a Featherlight Modified, and I was like, man, that's a crazy name for it. Why would you want to call a race car Featherlight?
That's right.
I never could figure that out.
It's like a featherweight, like in
yeah,
boxing.
Exactly.
Oh, those are the light guys. We want the heavyweights.
Speaking of the team we have here at Speed 51, I'm a little insulted by this tweet right here from Mamba. from his cruise. I appreciate him watching and everything, but you really have to rub it in that you're out there on a cruise when you could be here with us.
Yeah, Mama was supposedly, there was some sort of miscommunication, let's just say, not with Mamba, but with our scheduling department. We got this huge scheduling department down the hall here, and the logistical people, and there's about 5 or 6 people on the staff here at Speed 51. We're really going to start the rumors rolling, and there was a little bit of a logistical snafu, so to speak. So that's why I'm solo here today on the Morning Bullring. Coming up, we're a little bit behind schedule, but that's okay because I think we're going to have some short talkers coming up a little bit later on in the show. So we figure we let Bonsignor go long. Coming up, though, we'll find out what Brandon Pierce does. Of course, Saturday night, he won the race for the late model stock cars of the Car Store. We'll be right back here on the Morning Bullring.
Speed 51's video network, where the battles are legendary. Get the full picture on short track racing. We'll take you behind the scenes.
He's just a meathead. He's always the same way.
Your track, your driver, your sport, your passion. Dirt, late models, modifieds, and more. Race highlights, recaps, interviews, and thousands of on-demand videos. Speed 51 Network, short track racers' home for the best video coverage.
Bonepaw for the 3rd time this week.
Brandon Shepard. He wins all 4 World of Outlaws events.
Scott Bloomquist.
The big win in the Pro Late 100 tonight.
Timmy McCready in the World 100.
Chase Purdy wins.
Fans, it's almost time for the biggest super late model race this side of the Snowball Derby. It's the 43rd annual Hardee's Rattler Weekend, headlined by the Hardee's Rattler 250. It all happens March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Off, Alabama. Defending race winner and rising NASCAR star Harrison Burton will be back to defend his title against some of the best super late model racers in America. March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Off, Alabama. Be there!
8:33 in the morning here at the Morning Bullring on Speed 51. We are presented today by MPM Marketing. Go to marketingwithmpm.com. They represent a lot of drivers, especially around this part of the country, and we understand out west as well with some success this past weekend. But Tanya McAllister and her staff was at Southern National Motorsports Park with the Car Store. Nolan Pope, one of their clients around this part of the country. Of course, they do a good job in helping train those drivers to be able to get marketing and the backing that they need to be successful and also get some media representation as well. Some of those guests will be on the Morning Bullring throughout the year, but today's show presented by MPM Marketing. Check them out at marketingwithmpm.com. So we talked about the Car Store, Kenly, North Carolina. Interesting, a big double header for the Car Store with their super late model program and their late model stock car program. And I'll tell you what, their late model stock car program is growing by leaps and bounds. $10,000 on the line for both races up there just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina this past weekend. And an interesting finish, a little drama for the late model stock car portion of the event. We go to the PFC Performance Hotline right now with the winner, Brandon Pierce. Good morning and welcome to the Bullring.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, nice having you this morning. How is your morning? Waking up, it's Monday. Nobody likes it, I'm sure, except for you after the big win on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's still trying to settle in a little bit. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I don't have much of a voice. Lost it from this weekend, so I'm actually just heading to a customer call at work. So it's nothing really different for me so far. But I'm sure as it continues to settle in, I'll be able to feel it a little more.
We see a picture of you screaming in Victory Lane. So the loss of voice, is it from screaming in Victory Lane, or was it all the partying afterwards?
No, I actually was battling a little bit of a sinus deal, all this crazy weather going into the weekend, and I think from having my helmet fan on and it being so cold, that definitely didn't help me any. So the yelling definitely contributed as well, but I think it's just my little bit of a head cold going. So, but it's all good. Winning definitely makes that not hurt as bad for sure.
I'll tell you what, dude, my wife got the pollen alert, allergies. Here we come to life. Certainly this part of the country is brutal this time of the year with everything just coming to life and all the pollen coming out in the air. So I hope you feel better. Let's talk a little bit about the drama. Of course, Josh Berry, you going toe-to-toe on the final lap. What is your take?
Yeah, first and foremost, I've got all the respect in the world for Josh and due to the junior motorsports program. Been able to race with Josh now, over the past couple of years, of course, full-time last year, and then, of course, both of us, being full-time on the schedule this year. So, he's a heck of a competitor, and especially at Southern National next to Deke, he's the guy to beat there. So, I knew my best chance to get him when we crossed the stripe for the white was going to be to get him in 1 and 2, because I felt like if he was still ahead of me or even with me getting in 3 and 4, he would be able to pin me down and beat me back to the line on drive. So, just had to move him up a little bit right there past the center in 1 and 2 and got up beside him coming out of 2 and was able to stay far enough ahead of him when he tried to give me a little shot back to return the favor in 3 and 4 to beat him back to the line.
We're joined by my buddy Tom Ryan here on the Morning Bullring. He was at the event for the Cars Tour season kickoff at Southern National Motorsports Park. What did you think? Was it one of those classic moves, Tom?
It was a good move because Josh Berry was gone. He was dominating the race, and luckily, just at the end there, they had a caution, and it gave Brandon his chance to catch him, and it was a great battle to the end. I was on the front stretch shooting with the camera, and I was very surprised to see, coming off of turn 4, that white number 2 of Lee Pulliam's car with Brandon Pierce on board driving it. And that's my question, Brandon. You're in a new car this year, and you're teamed up with Lee Pulliam. Tell us about that relationship. How's that going for you guys?
Yeah, so far it's been incredible. Of course, Lee Pulliam, the guy is one of the best in short track racing, and all the knowledge and everything that he's been able to provide me and everything I've been able to learn. Of course, we've had to build quite a bit of chemistry in a short amount of time, and I think that reflected this past weekend. And extremely blessed to be given the opportunity to team up with Lee and further my career and just become a better racer all around, understand the cars better, be a better driver. Really just the whole aspect of everything. He's been able to teach me so much, and really looking forward to the relationship continuing to grow and me continuing to learn.
And Brandon, Lee Pulliam is such a smart guy. How much does he mean to you in terms of translating things and helping make you a more successful race car driver?
Yeah, it's been huge. Even in our short time together, I've learned so much more about just understanding the feels of the car and being able to understand my balance and what I'm feeling and what the reaction from the car is to what I'm feeling. He's just really been able to help simplify things and help me be able to better process everything and also be able to explain what I'm feeling so that they can work on the car and get it dialed in. And obviously they were able to do a fantastic job of that this weekend.
When you win a race like you did, obviously a high dollar race too, and that's pretty cool. How many people reached out, and what were some of the people that you were surprised about reaching out to you and offering you congratulations for the big win?
Yeah, obviously across the late model stock community as a whole, I've received quite a few messages, which has been really cool. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of people in this sport. This is only my 4th full-time year driving, so I'm still relatively inexperienced and have been blessed enough to have some success and And but one really cool thing after everything kind of settled down and me being able to check my phone, I had seen that Mr. Dale Jr. had mentioned me. So that was pretty surreal and pretty cool. Obviously growing up, I was actually a Junior fan, so as many people, and still am. And so that was really cool to see that, and definitely a shock to me, but really cool. And obviously his love for short track racing, and of course beating his car. So it was really cool to see that.
Especially because of the fact that you were battling with his driver, too, Josh Berry. I mean, I think that's pretty cool that there's a lot of respect there. And Junior does have that. He's a big fan of short track racing. In fact, a lot of people have kidded him in terms of, why don't you go back short track racing and do some? And he admitted on the Dale Jr. download a couple weeks ago that he's honestly afraid to go back because he thinks he might stink in a late model. He doesn't want to get beat. And I think that was that honest approach that we're seeing out of Dale Jr., in this part of his life, in this part of his career, a lot of honesty. And that's what I love a lot. Hey, did you and Josh talk after Saturday night?
Yeah, we did. We got to talk to each other shortly thereafter. Of course, they kept having a couple of people come up and say, have you talked to him? Have you talked to him? So at first I thought he was upset because, of course, with everything going on and going to Tech, I hadn't seen him. The only interaction we had was, of course, right there after the race on the backstretch. He pulled up beside me and gave me a thumbs up. So, once we got to talk, he congratulated me and told me I was better there at the end and just said, but I'm just going to tell you, when it's on the other foot, I'll definitely return the favor. And I wouldn't expect anything to be different. Again, I've got all the respect in the world for Josh. I've seen him win a few races himself that way. And, for me as a driver, and he understood that, his car was going away from him there a little bit at the end, and we were really strong. And he was up off the bottom, that 10 inches to a foot that I needed on the last lap, to get him coming off turn 2. And of course, I've received a little bit of backlash from, I think it was like with 3 or so to go. I was just rolling the center so much better than he was. And, I didn't drive it in any different, but I actually got into him with a couple laps to go, and it took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting to, and got him pretty out of shape. But I don't race like that, so backed off, let him gather it up, and wanted to make a fair run at him. And I wasn't going to win it that way, so that's why I backed off and tried to get another run at him. And was able to pull it off the second time.
Heck of a job on Saturday night. Where are we going to see you running for the entire racing schedule this year?
So I'm going to compete as being grateful to be a member of the Tour 12. I will compete for the Cars Tour full time for all those 11 races. So my next race will be Hickory in a couple weeks. I'm also going to run for the Triple Crown on the NASCAR Woodlands All-American Series side of things. So that'll be at South Boston, Langley, and Martinsville. And then probably going to hit up a few other races. Haven't fully decided on that yet. So right now, though, my schedule's set at 15 races, and we'll go from there.
That Triple Crown is pretty cool. We wish you the best of luck. And by the way, Madison Mabry, she'll be at that Cars Tour event at Hickory Motor Speedway in a couple weeks. So please be nice to her.
Absolutely.
Well, Brandon Pierce, congratulations on the big payday Saturday night for the Cars Tour opener. And thanks for coming on the Bullring.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, and appreciate everything you guys do for short track racing in general.
Brandon Pierce, late model stock car winner from the Cars Tour at Southern National Motorsports Park. Ding, ding, ding. What was that?
That was our first-time caller bell. I finally put it in the
finally
system,
got it.
and we haven't used it yet.
It only took how many episodes now, Tom?
9.
9? It took 9 episodes for Mark Keeler to finally get in there.
Better
See what happens when races rain out?
Hey. I searched and searched, and that was about the best bell I could come up with, but it's something different.
Studio 51 is actually swept.
It's vacuumed several times. I actually have to do the concrete because now every time we walk back onto the set, we're dragging dirt over. So
yeah,
but it's
I agree with you.
Oh yeah, we have a new backdrop here, kind of for behind us, except the smooth operator part. Now I'm covering the operator. I'm just smooth.
Yeah.
So I changed it from a couple weeks ago. I don't know where the hell that just came from, but anyways.
Yeah.
But, we mixed it up a little bit, and you can't really see, but we have an homage to the old BDI racing days right down here with the old 51.
That was Zach Stroop ran that race car. That was the winner at Motor Mile Speedway up there in Virginia with the Pro All-Star Series.
And I'm not just saying this because you're my boss and there's a paycheck involved, but that is the coolest number I've ever. I mean, going back to like years ago, that 51 with the skull is one of my favorite all-time race car numbers.
Yeah,
So.
that was pretty neat. Dale Averill actually came up with that number, and I'm a big fan of skulls. I got a skull tattoo. I mean, I love wearing skulls. That's why skulls are on our T-shirts and so forth. But he said, "Let me do something with the number 1," and I was like you. I'm like, don't do anything goofy, And it was neat because we had the skull kind of coming out of the 1, but then a skull faded in the 51 that adorned the side of our race cars, whether it was super late models, Pro Challenge cars, Legends cars, Bandolero cars, quarter midgets, you name it. But there it is. That was the number that we've always had. And I've been trying to get our staff, including my wife, to allow us to incorporate that into the Speed 51 logo, but they've always said no, with the exception of you.
I was going to say, I've got your back on that.
Listen,
when what was it? Arizona Sports Shirts gave us those shirts a couple years ago and brought the skull back. I've never been more happy with a Speed 51 shirt. I was stoked when I saw that skull come back.
Angie said no. Duke back in the day said no. So I was.
They want to keep us clean cut.
Yeah, forget about clean cut. I don't know. Madison Mabry leaving to go to work. She's got a regular job here today. She's leaving Studio 51. But coming up on the other side of the break, we will talk to the ARCA Menard Series winner this weekend from Five Flags Speedway.
Pod for the 3rd time this week.
Brandon Shepard. He wins all 4 World of Outlaws events.
Scott Bloomquist.
The big win in the Pro Late 100 tonight.
Timmy McCready in the World 100.
Chase Purdy wins.
Speed 51's video network, where the battles are legendary. Get the full picture on short track racing. We'll take you behind the scenes.
He's just a meathead. He's always the same way.
Your track, your driver, your sport, your passion. Dirt, late models, modifieds, and more. Race highlights, recaps, interviews, and thousands of on-demand videos. Speed 51 Network, short track racers' home for the best video coverage.
Hey race fans, download the new Speed51.com app today. Breaking news, feature stories, the Unfiltered podcast, live race coverage, schedules, and more right at your fingertips. Download it today on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Welcome back to the Morning Bullring. You saw right there, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. every Monday morning. We're throwing a curveball into the mix. We're going to begin at 7 a.m. starting next week here on the Morning Bullring. You just saw Mark Keeler's eyes get like really wide. We always go over, and we know a lot of people actually go to work and have things to do and more important things than listening or watching us. So we're going to start a little bit earlier and try to end by 9:30.
So I'm all for that. No, I'm here anyways, and it's funny because like crew calls like 6:30, but I always get here a lot earlier and inevitably we always start a little bit late because there's always something. But that's just the nature of technology, especially on a cold Carolina morning back here. Some things don't quite like firing up cold. So.
Hey, and listen, I get the notifications on my phone. So you were my wake-up call this morning when you got here because I'm up. Mark's in the house. I got that notification, from Studio 51 that you were here. So I'm like, man, Mark is early. No, you were just early. It went off my phone. I'm like, who's texting me? And because it comes through as a text.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, who's texting me? So I look, nervous. I got 5 kids. Okay, I know my wife's okay because she's with me, but 5 kids. I'm like, okay, something going on. So I look at my phone and it was just you.
Yep, just me.
You. That's
just
all.
Me.
Yeah, that's okay. But you can say it's just Michael Self on the PFC Performance Hotline right now. Big winner Saturday night, Five Flags Speedway in the Panhandle of Florida for the ARCA Menard Series. Welcome to the Bullring, Michael.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Not bad, not bad. You sound like you have your morning voice right now.
I don't know. I've been up for about an hour now, but I think I'm still a little bit tired from the weekend. A time change killed us. We flew back after the race, and I think my wife and I ended up walking in the door at like 4:30. So I'm still getting caught up from that a little bit.
Well, it was a great night the other night, and we're looking at a picture of you right now with your hashtag Sinclair selfie. I like that marketing prowess you have, but got to pick on you a little bit. And I did when I was driving home yesterday, and I talked to you a little bit. You know, when Jim Trado and I talked to you, oh, well, I'm not a short track guy, even though you got all those wins in the K&N West. And were you trying to, smoke the competition there by making people believe that you weren't a contender going into that race?
I don't know, maybe a little bit. I probably underplay my own short track abilities. And it's not that I don't feel that I haven't performed well on short tracks. I've got wins at I-44 Speedway in the K&N Series, All-American Speedway. A handful of good finishes in the ARCA Series. Finished second at IRP a couple of years ago. Ran fourth at Nashville last year. I would just say that I haven't been as probably perceived as much of a threat on the short tracks as maybe I am on the intermediate tracks, where I've led more laps and been able to win Chicagoland and win Kansas and consistently run up front there. I think it's just, something I can tease myself about a little bit, but now that I got a short track win there, I know we got eight or nine more in the ARCA Series that we got to go do to keep pursuing the championship.
That was round one of the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge, which is an 11th race series within the ARCA Menard Series, and there's a separate championship for that as well. So, Michael, you're off to a good start there. A lot of people focusing on that pass on the restart with Caden Honeycutt, the kid out of Texas who had a great showing the other night. But they took 2 tires on the final stop, a little strategy there. Most everybody else took 4 tires. You were one of those, and everybody seemed to be focused on that. But looking back at it and really kind of reliving the event and thinking about the analysis from it, I think to some degree the battle was won on pit road. Would you agree with that assessment?
I think a little bit. We had great pit stops both times. I think our Excalibur pit crew guys gained the spots on both stops, and that's hugely beneficial at a place like that. But even with spots being gained on pit road at a track like Pensacola that's so abrasive and has so much tire fall off and management needed, it really is about, it comes into setup, because after about 10 laps, 15 laps, the tires are just going to start completely wearing out. And that's when you're going to see the difference really come in, is who has a good long run car, and which driver is saving tire. And even though we only had 35 laps to go on that last restart, I was able to slot into second there. I wasn't going to go completely wear myself out or wear the car out in those first 10 laps trying to chase him down and get the lead at that point, because you got to save something for a late restart. You can't just go abuse the right front or abuse the right rear and then have a caution come out with 10 to go or just get run over from behind. So we had to play the same strategy all night long. I don't think there was one lap during that race where I went 100% myself as a driver. I mean, it was a 75 or 80% kind of effort all night long just to conserve and keep our car underneath us for the long course of the race.
What did you think about the ARCA Menard Series cars at Five Flags Speedway? That is like my second home. Five Flags Speedway, Pensacola, Florida, home of the Snowball Derby. I love the place. What did you think about ARCA going to Pensacola?
Well, I really enjoyed the track. That was actually my third time being there, but really first time racing there. I was able to spot a couple of years ago for a K&N East driver when they raced there in 2014. Then we tested last week and then come back for the race. And I like how much character the track has, how abrasive it is, the little bumps, the places where you can use the apron, the fact that the outside line was able to hang in some sense, especially on restarts. And the ARCA cars are probably some of my favorite cars to drive of all the different things that I've driven and raced, just because of the whole product that they have. The General Tires, the Tanya, I think, is a great product. I love what General Tires has given us. I'm really pleased with the 5-star body. I think the weight and the horsepower ratio of the car is something that's a lot of fun no matter what track we go to. So you combine that with this rough, abrasive short track and bring in a lot of this mental type of driving that I'm talking about, of having to kind of restrain yourself as a driver. For me, it was a lot of fun because it was, just a little bit different style of race that night. A little bit more strategy came into play, and hopefully that was fun for you guys to watch and understand that that's kind of what was going on through our heads as drivers, and definitely a place I would look forward to going back to again.
For us up in the TV booth on MAV TV, Jim Trado and I were up there. Derek Perniciglio was on pit road. We had a great time. We love the ARCA Menard series and being able to cover it on MAV TV. So there's always so many stories to tell. Jim and I just have a great conversation up there to call the action, but also to tell the stories of the stars like Michael Self. But Mark Keeler, who joins us here on the Morning Bullring, he got a chance to be in the Studio 51 here and watch the show. What were your thoughts of the event, Mark, from watching it from afar?
I think it was interesting to see somebody like Michael who has, we talk about the young stars and the young people coming up. So when you have somebody like Michael, when he talks about a mental race like that, and that, I think you could really see that play out. Some of the younger guys, even the ones with experience at Five Flags, and this would kind of be a question for Michael. Do you think that played into some of the younger guys who were quick right off the bat? Do you think that gave you, even though you're not the quote short track ace, but did that experience and that mental ability, do you think that's ultimately what helped you save over some of those other cars, or do you think it was more of a setup issue that maybe they weren't as prepared as you guys? And then lastly, on top of that, I got to ask you about the dinosaur down in the pits.
Yeah, so I think to answer your first question, it's a little bit of both. We knew right off the bat that Chandler qualifying on the pole, he was going to go out and he was going to lead laps because that's what he does. That's what Billy wants him to do, and that's kind of how he gets into his zone. But I just didn't think that was going to work. I mean, for the life of me, I didn't think that was going to work because in practice, we were falling off. I think every car out there was falling off close to a second and a half, maybe a little bit more on 50-lap tires. And I knew at the end of our 50-lap tire run in practice, I was like, man, this thing just feels horrible no matter how good the setup is. We had a neutral balance, but the car was just completely wore out. So there was, I told Shannon, my crew chief, and my guy was like, hey, don't be surprised if come lap 5 if I'm running 5th, because we might just have to drop back depending on how some of these guys go. And I think Chandler kind of took off there, but the one that really surprised me was the 19 car. I think Rafael Lessard, he didn't qualify great, but came through and passed me sometime there in the first 15 or 20 laps and went up there and got the lead. And I was sitting there kind of thinking, oh, man, he's definitely going to wear this thing out. I mean, there's no way that you're going to be able to drive that thing this hard. And that run ended up going about 80 laps, and Chandler fell off and Chandler fell back, I think, because of how he used his tires up to start the run. But the 19 never did. I mean, they were obviously in a really good place because he was able to get out and drive hard at the start of a run and maintain that throughout the run, which I was surprised with and really impressed with as far as him as a driver and that whole team over there. They did a great job. I'm not sure what ultimately happened to them on that last restart, but, they fell back a little bit. But I thought my strategy and the way I was approaching things played out perfectly for me, but he obviously had something there for us. So I think you see kind of two different strategies there. But, as far as the dinosaur in the pits, that was actually an idea that my wife came up with over the off season because she knew that Sinclair had the inflatable dinosaur from a couple of events that we had done. And she said, we've got to figure out a way to get that at the races. That would be a fun thing to have on TV, or if we could ever get it on there, something for people to take pictures of. And she was right. It's just something that's kind of unique that we want to have in the pit area or on the tailgate of a trailer that fans are going to take a picture with, because you don't often see a big 24-foot green dinosaur at the infield of a racetrack. We want to take people off guard a little bit and make sure we're getting that branding out there and kind of go the extra step for my sponsors, Sinclair Oil, who's done so much for me. We want to keep giving back to them and give some people something to talk about besides just the racing.
So we were giving you the credit for the marketing prowess, and it was actually Dana. See?
Yeah,
behind a good man is always a great woman.
I mean, she should get a ton of the credit for marketing stuff because she works every bit as hard as I do, and she's just fantastic at coming up with ideas and doing creative stuff. And she tweets from my account during the race and does always a theme with gifts, which I always enjoy looking back and seeing. But yeah, she's absolutely a rock star in that stuff.
I like the hashtag, Sinclair selfie, but you also have to use the hashtag Dynamite. Because I think that you get it, the play on words there. Dynamite.
I like it. Yep, I like it. I like that.
there it is. The Sinclair dinosaur that we see a picture of from Twitter this past weekend from Venturini Motorsports. Of course, the big win for Michael Self. We're talking to him, driver and championship contender in the ARCA Menard Series this year. How important was this victory after a tumultuous Daytona start to the season?
It was big. It was everything that we needed on the 25 team, just because of what you just said, the championship. When we started out Daytona in a serious hole, to come out there with Christian having a good run, finishing fourth there, and knowing that these short tracks coming up are going to be really good tracks for him, or possibly going to be the places I struggle to him. You don't want to be in a deficit and then be weary of what's ahead and afraid that you're going to lose more time. So to gain a little bit back on him on Saturday night was a big deal for us, and to get some motivation and confidence in the 25 guys, and to get that chemistry built with me and my new crew chief, Shannon Rush. You want to do that as early as you can in the season, and I feel like he and I have really hit it off and kind of picked up where we left off in 2016 when I was coaching Justin Haley and Shannon was his crew chief at the time, and we had a good relationship and chemistry. We were able to build on that there and hopefully just continue to do that as we go forward and keep this momentum as we look forward in the championship.
So a lot to still accomplish this year, but we have a question coming in from social media from Connor Sullivan. It's actually a question for me, but it involves you. And he says, I think we need to get Michael Self in a super late model for the Snowball Derby. Do you concur, Bob Dillner? Absolutely is my answer. How about you, Michael?
If someone's got a good card they're willing to offer up and wants to see what we can do, I definitely won't turn down an opportunity to go race. But I've only run a super late model like 6 or 7 times in my life. I have very few experience. Now there were some good races in there. I was able to win the Bullring out at Las Vegas a couple times. Ran well at Irwindale and Tucson a couple times years and years ago. But it would be fun to get back in one and give it a try.
So, you're 28 years old. We talked about this the other day, and I thought it was an interesting perspective that you had. Everybody that is younger than you, and we saw, this was incredible, 8 drivers in the starting lineup the other night at Five Flags Speedway, 18 years old or younger. That shows you a little bit of the youth movement. So, other than the guys that are way up there, the Bashams and so forth of the world, that are just having a good time in the ARCA Menard Series, you're one of the more experienced veteran drivers at 28 years old. So what are your thoughts on where your career is? I know you would love to go to the NASCAR big ranks, but would you be satisfied just running here in ARCA?
Absolutely. I look at every opportunity I have to get in a race car now every weekend, and I'm so thankful for it because there was a period of time there where I was that age. I was 20 and 21, and like you mentioned the other day, I was on the short track draft, and I was in NASCAR next, and I had won Iowa and Phoenix and all these great races, and was going to the future. And all of a sudden, that was all gone, and there was no racing at all, and that was hard for me to grasp, especially as a younger adult with not a whole lot to hedge my bets on. And, I took it on myself to kind of switch my life path around and focus on going back to school, focusing on doing marketing stuff, got the Sinclair deal, and have tried to make a big impact in that and control that. And then now I get to go race every single weekend because of that stuff. And that's all stuff that I'm really proud of, and it's all stuff that I can say I've got to be realistic. My future probably hedges on what Sinclair is going to do and how far they want to go in racing, and some of these other sponsors, if they step up, if they want to go forward in racing. I mean, it's probably not realistic for Joe Gibbs or Rick Hendrick to call and say, we want you to be next in line to drive this Cup car. And that's okay. I mean, that's just fine with me. I'm making a decent living right now, running 20 races a year in the ARCA series. I love working with Sinclair, and I love having time to finish school and to do work for my partners. And, I really, really enjoy any chance that I get to go racing, no matter what level, because at one time that wasn't there. And so I would absolutely be happy just staying here and doing what I can for the foreseeable future because it's fun. And it gives me a chance to have another life outside of racing and to focus on my family and to, just do a little bit of everything that I really care about.
Well, Michael, it was a great night in Pensacola, Florida. It's always a good time when you go to Five Flags Speedway, but a big congratulations on the victory, race number 2 in the ARCA Menard Series, and we wish you the best of luck and look forward to seeing you at Salem when we get there mid-April.
Absolutely. I hope we can talk again after that race. Obviously, I'll talk to you guys there, and we'll try and put on a good race at Salem again this year, and maybe make it a little less entertaining than last fall's Salem race. But we'll try and have a good one out there. But I appreciate you guys' time this morning.
Zane Smith won't be there. Don't worry. You'll be okay. Anyway, Michael Smith joining us here on the Morning Bullring, the winner of the Pensacola 200 at Five Flags Speedway. And, Mark, I just love, how Michael, positions himself. He is a smart guy, a good racer. And it's a shame that we consider a 28-year-old, too old to advance in our sport. And I think that's an issue because Michael has the driving prowess. He has the marketing prowess. He's got a great personality, a good-looking guy. Honestly, he could go into the Truck Series or the Xfinity Series and be successful right off the bat.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I mean, honestly, I watched the race the other night. I never even thought of the mental aspects of that place and the challenges that it would throw from that aspect until he said that on one of his first answers there. And, we did all the talk is about this young crop of drivers that's coming up. But, people even mentioned last year with like a Bubba Pollard, why isn't he getting a shot? Somebody like Michael Self, certainly deserving of it. But, and I think he has a level of maturity that we don't see right now in an overabundance of the Truck and Xfinity Series, focusing on his life away from racing and his family and his wife and all that. But you can tell that he's got some poise and short track ace or not, I still think that's hilarious because you and Jim mentioned that early in the broadcast. And then sure enough, here he is at the end. But I think I think the word poise would be good to describe him and how he approached that. And it was good to see. It was just really good to see one of the veterans, that's, I'm almost double his age.
Air quotes.
Yeah, air quotes, veterans at 28 years old. But it was good to see one of them shine at a place like Five Flags where, I mean, look at the amount of experience those young guys had on that racetrack. Granted, in a different type of car, but over him. But he was able to use his head and mentally get in the game and really put together the winning formula.
And before we leave the ARCA Menard Series at Five Flags Speedway, and today we are presented by MPM Marketing on the Morning Bullring, I want to mention a couple other people. We expected Chandler Smith to be good. He was, until maybe he punished his tires or maybe missed on the setup. Christian Eckes, we expected him to be strong. He finished third. We mentioned that we were impressed with Ty Gibbs, the 16-year-old, finishing second, and especially in the fashion that he did. But I want to bring up a couple of other names. I was very impressed by Rafael Lessard. Big, heavy stock car, 2 prior ARCA starts, looked miserable in those 2 other starts. He has matured a lot. I am starting to really become a believer of Rafael Lessard, and if it wasn't for putting on those 4 tires and that car getting really tight, he would have been a factor and he would have been a threat to take Michael Self down at the end of this race. There are a couple of other drivers as well. Caden Honeycutt, very impressive. Just a small team, planning to run as many of the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge events as he can. The driver out of Texas, his mom, got on our social media, just a direct message to us and said, "Hey, why hasn't Speed 51 done anything about my son?" And I think it was his mom. It just actually didn't say about son, but you tell it was related because the lady that actually mentioned her last name was Honeycutt. Anyway, I digress. we with Speed 51, we cover some ARCA, and she said, why did Bob Dillner pass us by at Five Flags Speedway? Well, number one, when I'm there at an ARCA event, I don't represent Speed 51. I represent MAV TV. So number one, that is that. Caden Honeycutt is somebody that we need to pay attention to. He looked phenomenal the other night. But at the same time, I did go to see Caden Honeycutt. He wasn't there in the pit area for a little while, and then I bumped into him actually a little bit later on in the day. So I did have that opportunity to talk about him, and that's why we touted him during the broadcast on MAV TV. But then Connor O'Kresick, the 17-year-old out of Grand Bay, Alabama, the winner of Speedfest, a winner at Montgomery Motor Speedway last year. He looked very impressive. Family-owned team. He's going to run 5 events this year on the ARCA Menard Series, go full-time with Mike Garvey in that team next year. I think he did a fantastic job. And then 16-year-old Corey Heim out of the late model stock car ranks, and to some degree the super late model ranks as well, between the Cars Tour and then the Southern Super Series last year. He looked very strong in that Chad Bryant ride. So if you look at the youth in terms of the ARCA Menard Series, it was just fantastic. We have a bright future.
Absolutely, and it was huge, and it was definitely on display. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, and I mentioned it earlier, and you just mentioned him as well, Connor O'Kresick, and I've been fortunate that I had the opportunity to watch him kind of come up through the ranks when he first started Pro Lates and Super Lates, just because of the races that I covered down there. But I think maybe that might be his performance the other night and the way they're going about it. I think might be an eye-opener for some people. You know, it wasn't they didn't go out and go to one of the big teams and try to, rent a ride. They did it all on their own. They went out, they got a car, and they proved that you can be competitive and you can run up there with a family-owned team. Now, granted, having Mike Garvey, in your pit box always helps. But to see a team do it that way, that was really refreshing to see in this day and age. And Connor, he continues to impress no matter what he drives. I was very happy to see him get a Speedfest win, because last year that Montgomery win, I think it was a little tainted because it came on the heels of a disqualification in the tech shed, and nobody wants to win like that. It's like winning a rain shortened race for your first win or whatever. So it was great to see him get Speedfest, but I was a little concerned for him going in there from a fan standpoint, if I can call it that, because it's a heavy stock car. It's something he's not used to. But to see how he carried himself was great. You mentioned Corey Heim. Corey Heim, doesn't matter what he's driving, it looks like right now the kid's just good.
He's got nice hair, too.
I haven't seen his hair yet.
Well, we had a little graphic of him. He always has a hat on when I see him, but we had a graphic on MAV TV, and I'm like, that dude's got some nice hair.
Better than Eric Jones' hair on Saturday. I
had
to throw that out there.
Yeah, he got picked on. Leave him alone. Eric Jones is a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Anyway, we'll be right back here on the Morning Bullring. We're going to get fire started. Coming up next, talk about indoor racing at Syracuse.
Speed 51's video network, where the battles are legendary. Get the full picture on short track racing. We'll take you behind the scenes.
He's just a meathead. He's always the same way.
Your track, your driver, your sport, your passion. Dirt, late models, modifieds, and more. Race highlights, recaps, interviews, and thousands of on-demand videos. Speed 51 Network, short track racers' home for the best video coverage.
Pod for the 3rd time this week.
Brandon Shepard, he wins all 4 World of Outlaws events.
Scott Bloomquist.
The big win in the Pro Late 100 tonight.
Timmy McCready in the World 100.
Chase Purdy wins.
fans, it's almost time for the biggest super late model race this side of the Snowball Derby. It's the 43rd annual Hardy's Rattler Weekend, headlined by the Hardy's Rattler 250. It all happens March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Opp, Alabama. Defending race winner and rising NASCAR star Harrison Burton will be back to defend his title against some of the best super late model racers in America. March 15th, 16th, and 17th at South Alabama Speedway in Opp, Alabama. Be there!
We will be at South Alabama Speedway this week with Speed 51. We hope you are as well. The Baby Rattler on Saturday night, and then, of course, on Sunday, the famed Rattler, where the winner of the event gets to put a rattlesnake around his or her shoulders. Something I don't know if I would ever do. So I thought the interesting thing is Harrison Burton is going to be there. He is going to be competing in the Rattler. And last year, you know, he had that Rattler around his shoulders, and his mom, Kim, said she will put the rattlesnake around her shoulders this year if Harrison Burton is able to score the victory again.
I think Jeff was more scared of the rattlesnake than anybody because we were, I think somebody was interviewing him. He's like, man, I got to go over and do this, and I really don't want to. But no, I love that rattlesnake. I won't go near it. I don't even leave the tower on Sunday down there. But that's it. They have a really cool trophy, and we've seen a bear. I think it's is it sprint cars that have the bear in Victory Lane, that they have the little live bear that comes out?
Yes, we saw a toilet bowl in dirt late model racing.
Bowl, and now the rattlesnake down in Opp, Alabama. And if you're anywhere near, it's actually Kinston, Alabama is where the racetrack is. If you're anywhere near there, I've said this many times, it's one of my favorite racetracks in the country, as much for what happens in the grandstands as on the racetrack itself, because there's always, I think there's more fisticuffs and stuff, and it's always women in the grandstands fighting with each other, and but just an awesome racetrack.
You know, you keep on not taking your camera.
That's because I have something queued up for our next guest, so that's the only reason I did.
Whatever. By the way, the Rattler this weekend, you can see Saturday and Sunday. If you can't make it to Alabama and South Alabama Speedway, we understand. Things get in the way. Life, jobs, you name it, kids. But you can definitely see it. Pay-per-view style broadcast Saturday and Sunday live on MAV TV. Go to speed51.com to order today or this weekend. Make sure you get on there to watch the Rattler, the Baby Rattler, on Saturday night for the Pro Late Models, and then the Super Late Models doing war on Sunday at South Alabama Speedway. Pay-per-view broadcast on Speed 51. Let's go to the PFC Performance Hotline. That's right, first-time caller, Eric Rudolph. How you doing, buddy? Eric, are you there, bud?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
How you doing, dude?
Good. How are you doing this morning?
Not bad. First-time caller here on the Morning Bullring because of the big win in Syracuse this past weekend. Are you already in the shop working on the cars?
Actually, I'm getting ready to go right now. My coffee's dripping, and gonna sip on that for a minute and then head over.
Hey, I heard Saturday night was really good for you. But what I hear from most everybody that went, and we had Dwayne and Evan Canfield there for Speed 51, is that Friday night show was just bad to the bone. You and Justin Bonson, you're duking it out. How exciting was that race?
Friday was definitely that's as good of an indoor race as you're gonna get. Some of these races aren't really that good. But Friday was as good as it's gonna get. That was a barn burner.
It was exciting with you guys kind of going back and forth for sure. And then Saturday night, it was a little easier for you. How important and how cool was that to get the win?
With the championship on the line, Saturday night, it was pretty important to get the win. It solidified the season, and we've been on a little bit on a cold streak the last little bit here. Last year we were close but didn't get any wins, and this year we had a bunch of silvers and bronzes, and last race of the season this year to get the win. That was pretty important because I would have been pretty upset if we didn't win for like 2 whole years.
Well, you got the gold medal for sure. The win and the championship went out in style. You know, the funny thing about this is when the folks from Area Auto Racing News really kind of put this together several years ago, they didn't know how it was going to be. And it has really turned into a specific culture, if you will. And it unites dirt racers and pavement racers alike, you know, to kind of do some winter racing. How cool is that atmosphere there for this mini series that you have in the Northeast?
It's great. In upstate New York and Pennsylvania and New Jersey, where most of these people are from, there's really not too much to do and too much going on during the winter. And then to have something like this that we can go do makes the winter go by a little quicker.
Yeah, you still have snow on the ground?
I had snow on the ground yesterday. It rained, and it's about gone.
Well,
Not sure if it's gone for good.
Hopefully it is gone for good for sure, so we can get the season kick started here in the next month or so in the Northeast. What do you have planned for 2019?
2019 we'll see pretty similar to last season, but I'll go ahead and tell you is we're running weekly at Ransomville and Land of Legends Raceway Park. Utica when we see fit, and we'll run the whole Super Dirt Car Series, Big Block Series, and then after that we'll pick and choose and race elsewhere. Like I said, where makes sense for our team to be at.
What do you think about with the Super Dirt Car Series this year? Obviously going up against the best in the business, and you've competed with them on and off for several years, but what is that going to be like for you this year in that challenge?
Last year we had a really good year. We're super consistent. I think we really only had maybe one or two off nights. So if we can continue that and be as consistent as we were last year, and I don't see any reason why our program will take a step back. If anything, we'll be the same, if not better. So I'm looking forward to this year.
Hey.
There's some new places that are going to be on the schedule this year. We're going to be back at Eldora. Going to be back at Sharon. Can't wait for the season to get here.
Getting some questions on social media for you. Brian Bachman wants to know, are you planning on running the BRP Tour this year?
Yeah, like I said, with how my schedule is and how busy we are, we will make it to a few of them. We won't be, for the whole series, but I'll be down there when it makes sense for my team to be down there in Western PA, Eastern Ohio, where that series is located.
Well, Eric Rudolph, by the way, how'd you get the nickname the Firestarter?
I don't know. It just kind of came along. They call me a lot of different things. Nothing is really stuck, but hey, it doesn't really matter to me. My parents call me Eric.
There you go. There you go. People call me a lot of things too, but I don't pay attention to them either. But Eric, I've been watching your family for a long time, being from the Northeast. So awesome to have you on the show, and we wish you the best of luck this year.
I appreciate it, man. Have me on anytime.
You got it. Eric Rudolph on the Morning Bullring here on Speed 51. And we have one more thing coming up here this morning. We've been kind of texting back and forth with a couple of different people, but we're going to have somebody that just won on the West Coast coming up here on the Morning Bullring when we return. Of course, today presented by MPM Marketing.
Pod for the third time this week.
Brandon Shepard. He wins all 4 World of Outlaws events.
Scott Bloomquist.
The big win in the Pro Late 100 tonight.
Timmy McCready in the World 100.
Chase Purdy wins.
Speed 51's video network, where the battles are legendary. Get the full picture on short track racing. We'll take you behind the scenes.
He's just a meathead. He's always the same way.
Your track, your driver, your sport, your passion. Dirt, late models, modifieds, and more. Race highlights, recaps, interviews, and thousands of on-demand videos. Speed 51 Network, short track racers' home for the best video coverage.
Hey race fans, download the new speed51.com app today. Breaking news, feature stories, the unfiltered podcast, live race coverage, schedules, and more right at your fingertips. Download it today on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Getting near the end of the show here, the Morning Bullring on Speed 51. Tune in every Monday, now 7 a.m. to 9:30, starting next week here on Speed 51. I am Bob Dillner, and we've had a great show. I mean, think about the people that we've had so far. Justin Bonsignor, talking junk again. And by the way, Doug Kobe just tweeted us and said, if Justin Bonsignor's history going through different chassis manufacturers and crew chiefs is any indication, you will have to run this poll that we have up right now on Speed 51 at least 3 times before he will finally win. With an emoji that's like that. Oh my, the trash talk. And I think he's trying to ante up to make sure that he wins the biggest trash talker poll on the modified circuit that we have going on right now.
He did a pretty good job just with that tweet with the snow and the dog and that. I'm not a huge social media guy, and of course you know that. And I even saw that
better.
one. I'm getting there slowly but surely. But
just like with dirt racing, you're getting better.
Yeah, slowly but surely. But it's cool to see drivers like that having fun away from the track. And the modifieds, it was funny when I was thinking about this and you brought up the poll, and I'm like, man, modified guys are like in a world all their own because, in super late models, you have 1 or 2 guys here and there that are trash talking. But when you get like the whole group, that modified group, it's its own lifestyle, and it's so cool to see.
Rough and tumble. I always told the story, and of course I'm exaggerating to some degree, but, at Riverhead Raceway, there used to be a lot of fights, and we're talking about jack handles and wrenches and fists and everything at Riverhead Raceway. So when somebody would pull off the track and the other crew is mad in there, and they could say, I'm going to kill you, basically, they were telling the truth. That's what I always joke about, because honestly, they're going to come down and they're going to try to whoop your butt if you just did them wrong on the racetrack. So, it was always interesting to see the emotion at my home track, Riverhead Raceway. And I just watched The Last Ride, by the way. I actually bought the movie on iTunes and then watched it over the weekend, actually in my camper at Five Flags Speedway when I couldn't get to sleep. That was an interesting perspective on my home track there, so check it out if you get that opportunity. Mark, we talked about the West Coast, Madera opening up their season, a big winner out there, and we keep on talking about teenagers. We have another one and a first-time caller. You heard that little ding, 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 ding. Mark Keeler came up with that. I don't know if it's going to stick or not. We'll see what he comes up with. But at least for now, Dylan Zampa, you are a first-time caller here on the Morning Bullring. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
No problem. I got you up a little bit early. Did your dad have to wake you up?
My dad's at work right now, but my mom woke me up. She just woke me up about 10 minutes ago, and my dad told me that Speed 51 wanted to talk to me and interview me, and I got up really quick to get this opportunity.
So we're going to talk about the win, but just because you're 15 years old, okay, and we woke you up out on the West Coast, what type of pajamas are you wearing?
I'm wearing some sweatpants and a jacket.
There you go. I like to wear like football teams and so forth. I still got my pajama pants and so forth. My wife picks on me all the time. So I just had to know exactly what you were wearing, So, all right, let's talk about what happened this past weekend at Madera Speedway, because I understand that the seas kind of opened up for you after some of the leaders tangled and you went right to the front. What was that like for you at Madeira?
It was hard to explain, but it was a life changer to win at Madeira because Kenny put so much work into getting the RPM series out there for everybody to see who wins and stuff. And when Blaine Rocha and Carlos Vieira tangled, me and my brother just got right on it and took first and second for the final restart before it rained out.
So you're able to beat your brother. I was going to ask you, how was that after the race? Were you both happy for each other, or was he still just kind of a little bit like, oh, should have been me?
So Stephen Blakesley interviewed us at the halftime break before it started raining, and my brother said that how it's good for me to be in first, but I wish I had one more spot. I wish I was in first because he won the 10K race, but he also wants to win the 5K opener race to make it 15,000. But on the final restart, he took the outside, and we raced side by side for 10, 15 laps, and he made a mistake going into turn 3, and coming out of turn 4, he drove really high, and I pulled up in front of him, so my spotter called me clear, and then I went like 5 laps single file, and the caution came out, and then it rained out.
Well, could you believe that you were the winner after this? I mean, what was that like as a 15-year-old to beat the Carlos Vieira, to beat the Blaine Rocha? I know they had an incident, to beat your brother. You know, what does this really mean to you personally?
I'm speechless after the race, and to me, it is a big life changer. It's a big stepping stone for me to move on, hopefully move on to the race.
So a big race, a big win for you. You're working with MPM as well. What have they done for you in terms of, as a 15-year-old, learning what to do and when?
So MPM Marketing and Tanya, they have allowed me in the middle of April to go test with Lee Falk Racing at Hickory Motor Speedway.
That's going to be a lot of fun. We look forward to, you're going to have to let us know, or Tanya's going to have to let us know when you're going to go do that test, because maybe we'll come and do a little feature on you or something. Tell people about yourself. I mean, have you been in racing a long time? Do you do other sports? What's it like to be a 15-year-old out on the West Coast and trying to do this racing thing, but balance being a regular teenager as well?
Yeah, it's very hard with friends and stuff, but I've been racing for 9-10 years, and I'm super devoted, and that's the only thing I really want to do.
Do you do anything else outside of racing?
Right now, no. I just work on my race car almost every day of the week and just try to make it out to the races.
So that's pretty cool. So you're 15, you've been racing for 9-10 years. Is your family, has it been involved in racing for a long time? Is that how you got the love, or is it something that, you and your brother just wanted to do?
No, my dad's, my grandpa, my dad's dad, he built cars and had people race for them out at Altamont Speedways. And then he bought my dad a quarter midget, and my dad raced that. And then my dad got a legend car, and then moved up to the SRL over here on the West Coast. And he ended up quitting in 2002 to let my brother start racing. And then in 2009 is when I had my first race, and that's the year I got Rookie of the Year in quarter midgets.
Do you realize how special it is for you as a 15-year-old to be racing in a pro late model at some of the coolest racetracks in America?
Yeah, it's very special because when my dad told me before the first race that we're running opens, I was super excited. I was ready to take on the challenge with all the big guys, and I was happy that I left the junior series.
Hey, what was that like, when you saw your dad, your mom, victory lane, you're winning? Obviously there was a lot of water on the ground out there, but what was that moment like and what was said?
It was very emotional for me and my dad. because we won our first ever pro late model race in our very first start, and we were both speechless. He didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. So it was a very emotional moment.
Are you nervous now because you won on your first start? Now you got to just keep it up, buddy.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous for the next race because I know everybody knows that I'm a contender now, so they'll be racing me differently, but I'll figure it out, and hopefully we can get another win this season.
Well, dude, I appreciate you waking up. Your mom getting you out of bed here this morning because I know it's only 6:35 out there where you are at right now. So we appreciate you coming on the Morning Bullring. Are you going to be getting ready for school now, or what's in store for the rest of the day?
Well, yeah, I'm about to go take a shower, and then I'll be leaving the house around 7:30 to go to school.
And what grade are you in?
I'm a freshman in high school.
Freshman in high school, but now more importantly, a winner in the Pro Late Model Circuit out west. Congratulations on the big win at Madera.
Thank you. Do you mind if I take a second to thank all my sponsors?
Absolutely. Go ahead, buddy.
I'd like to thank CSI Shocks, MPM Marketing, and Tanya, Superior Bearings, Allied Auto, Allied Propane, Valley Fabrication, Pioneers Welding Supplies, Anderson Logging, Stork's Garage, J-Squared Performance, Pit Stop USA, and Mike Doss helping my dad with setups and parts for the car, and my mom and dad and brother for their support.
Hey, let me ask you this, because you just mentioned Mike and Jeremy Doss. How influential are they on you and your team, and what have they done for you as a driver?
Jeremy is a very big influence because he's a very good driver, also on the West Coast, and he's raced at more tracks, so he's kind of helped me. He's helped me multiple times at Madera, and Mike has helped my dad with setup and parts for the car, the good parts, like parts that should be on the car to make it go faster. And Jeremy's helped me at the 10K race, and that's what made me really fast, but then an incident happened with 3 laps to go in the junior series, and that took me out of the championship contender.
What's the best piece of advice that Jeremy's given you?
Probably about my line, what I should fix, and how I should exit, how I should roll the center, and then that helped me very much, and my car was really fast, the 10K race in the junior series, and we got in contact with first place, running side by side, and then that took us out, and we went to the back of the pack, and there was only 3 laps left, so we weren't able to get back up to the front.
There's been a lot of criticism in regards to some of the young kids as early as 12 racing, but that junior late model series that really was born out at Madera, what did that do for you, and how important was that to prepare you for what you're about to enter this year?
So, like thanking Kenny earlier, Kenny brought the junior series on, and he's made that televised so it got out there, so people know that kids 10 through 16 are racing, and most of them are 12 through 14 years old racing, and it was a very big stepping stone for me also to get from the juniors to the RPM series at Madera. So it was a very big step for me, but I was ready to take on the challenge to run the RPM series.
Well, congratulations on the big win, and Dylan, I am a big fan of yours already. Well done with the interview. You got a bright future ahead of you.
Thank you.
Dylan Zampa, 15 years old, pro late model winner, Mark, out at Madera. That was pretty cool to get him on the Morning Bullring this morning and just listen to how you use the word poised for Michael Self. Well,
Yeah.
This kid's pretty poised as well.
15 years old. That was definitely quite impressive, and I love how he asked if he could take a minute and thank his sponsors. That was, and you think about it, all the drivers and the veterans that we've had on the Bullring, and I think he's the first one that said, "Hey, you know what? I've got this outlet. I've got this stage. Let me thank the people that got me here." So, yeah, kudos to that kid. I mean, I can tell you, when I was 15, if somebody woke me up at 6:30 in the morning, I don't care if it'd be to go on a show or not. I wouldn't be thinking about sponsors or anything. I'd probably still be in bed.
That was one of my favorite interviews we've done on the 9 episodes so far of the Morning Bullring. By the way, let's do this real quick before we leave, because
Yep.
we're already 9 minutes into overtime. We're starting at 7 a.m. Next week on Monday.
Yep.
New time. Make sure you spread the word. But let's get Ryan McCullough on the line. Let's crash call him.
The crash call?
Yeah, just crash call him. Just
All
let's
right,
do
sounds
it
good.
live. We're going to do it live. Ryan McCullough has worked with Speed 51 for a long time, and he is now doing a lot of PA announcing at South Alabama Speedway. He's a big Troy guy. I'm a big Appalachian State guy. That's right. Go Mountaineers, baby. But we're going to try to get Ryan McCullough on the line here to talk about the Rattler coming up this weekend, the Baby Rattler. I want to hear there's MPM Marketing. Is that Nolan Pope's car? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nolan Pope's car from the Cars Tour on Saturday night at Southern National Motorsports Park. Of course, Tanya McAllister and her staff were there handling all of their clients from the marketing side to the media side. Make sure you visit marketingwithmpm.com if you want some help on that side of the ball game here in racing.
There's a problem with Ryan McCullough, though.
Is he not up?
He's a school teacher.
Well, okay. 10-4. He told me to call him. Just call him at will.
I'll try it again. It didn't ring through. I'm gonna actually. You know what? I'm gonna plug it in here. So
let's leave him a message. We could always leave him a message
like
here.
you did to Carson Quapple.
That's
a couple
right.
Weeks ago.
Although Carson Quapple's voicemail was hysterical.
Yeah.
So
right,
here's
we go.
Ryan
It's ringing.
McCullough, the one and only Ryan McCullough.
I hope he doesn't cuss.
Well, it's the internet.
Yeah, that's true. No FCC here.
If he's a good teacher, he does not answer right now.
If he's a good teacher, he doesn't even have his phone in his pocket.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, come on,
It's ringing.
Ryan.
See, he's not picking up because.
You've reached Ryan McCullough.
There we go. Okay, hold on.
Right now, so leave me a name, number, and a brief little message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. Have a good day.
We're waiting. All right, here we go. All right, Ryan McCullough, it's Bob Dillner on the Morning Bullring. Just want to wish you the best of luck at South Alabama Speedway this weekend with the running of the Rattler. We're looking forward, at least I'm looking forward, because I'm going to a different racetrack this weekend, and I'm looking forward to listening to you and Bill Roth with the call down there. You are live on the Morning Bullring with your voicemail. Maybe you save this. And by the way, go App State, baby. Go App State Mountaineers. Ryan McCullough, not quite the first-time caller this morning because he didn't join us, but thank you, Ryan.
Still a first-time call.
All right.
Next time, answer your phone.
Hang up on him. Whatever. He's got to teach.
Yeah. Teachers.
Well, a good show this morning on the Morning Bullring. Remember, 7
interesting.
a.m., certainly next week. We started talking about the whole clarification of the short tracks, and we never delved into it the rest of the show. But I wanted your take on that.
Honestly, I agree 100% with what Junior said. And I think part of that in NASCAR's classification of it, and I think that plays into the disconnect between a short track racing fan. Yeah, between a short track racing fan and I've always said for years there's NASCAR fans and there's race fans. And yeah, there's some overlap, but by and large they're different. And I think it plays into Brandon's article and his opinion. And it's funny because I came up with an interesting idea after reading Brandon's article, and I think it could play into it also. And I said, every NFL game, they have, or not every, but some of the networks, they have the person stay up there and say, I'm blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah from Mississippi State. Well, why can't a short track driver go up there and say, I'm so-and-so, or I'm Kyle Busch from the Bullring in Las Vegas? Why can't they go up there and say where they came from?
Yeah.
All the NFL guys are saying it. They're not, hometowns are nice. Tell me where you raced. Tell me where you came from. And that even something as tiny as that could open some race fans' eyes to say, hey, wait a minute. I guess these guys really did come from somewhere. But I think if I'm a NASCAR fan and I'm looking at Phoenix and I'm saying this is short track racing, that's not going to get me out on a Saturday night. It's not Bowman Gray. It's not Riverhead. It's not Seekonk where I grew up. That's a short track.
Yeah, Ryan Preece would go up there and say, hi, I'm Ryan Preece, and I'm from Stafford Motor Speedway, Waterford Speedball, and Thompson Speedway.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing is you'd have to pick like a series or even just say, Wheeler Modified Tour or a modified driver. But do something just to connect. I tell your story. How many Eric Jones fans, they know he's from Byron, Michigan, But do they have any clue?
Because of Matt Prier.
Yeah, of course. But do they have any clue, that he finished third his first time ever in a super late model at the World Crown? And
Or
his second
Owasso
time ever,
Speedway was his home track.
Right. Or, and everybody knows he won the Snowball Derby. And they should, because that is the granddaddy of them all, but they don't know his story. They don't know what got him there. They don't know it was a family team going in there.
They know that he has a certain type of hair.
Oh, boy. It almost... Okay, I love Eric Jones, and I mean no disrespect by this. Eric, I called your Governor's Cup win at New Smyrna, and I'll never forget that day. But my favorite part of that day, by the way, though, real quick, he led all 200 laps, and in Victory Lane he goes, man, I think we led the most laps. And I laughed at him because I'm like, well, yeah, you led all of them. So,
Yeah.
But it looked like he had a hairnet on. It was the angle of the camera. It did not do him any justice, but I thought he handled it pretty good on social media.
He did handle it very well. And Eric's a good kid. And honestly, he's got the Justin Bieber hair going on. That's the bottom line.
I don't even know that I'd give it that much credit. It was like I said, the camera angle that they had in that booth, because it was kind of off and looking down at him, didn't do him any favors. But he did really good. And I was trying to listen to the race, and it was either him or Harvick that admitted to just having their toes done the other day, and I'm pretty sure it was Eric that admitted to, I guess, a pedicure.
I've had one.
And I think, I'm trying to remember who the
Las
lead-
Vegas Motor Speedway, by the way. They have a massage parlor and like you get your nail. I got a manicure too.
Hey,
I'm man enough to say it.
I've got it, but it was absolutely funny because Eric just stopped Kevin and who else is in the booth with him? It's not Mike Joy, is it? No, it's
I don't know. I don't watch.
Anyways, Adam Alexander, is that it? Yeah,
I was
just
busy doing another race.
Stopped them all dead in their tracks though when he mentioned just having his toes done. So that was hilarious. But honestly, I love he did a great job in analyzing and I like that Eric by and large still remembers where he came from. And it's not beneath him when he has the opportunity to go run a short track race. But it all ties in. Everybody came from somewhere, and the more these guys remember that and realize it and don't forget it, the better off the sport's going to be as a whole.
Well, let's end on that. I'm tired. I'm done. It's time to get to work. Thank you for watching the Morning Bullring here on Speed 51.